All right, so let's take a look at lesson 19's classwork. So the diagram might be a little confusing, so I'm going to explain some things. This right here is our hole. So our hole, in other words, is 3.5. And if you take a look at this, right, this is kind of like our divisor. I have two groups of something. Well, it's telling us that this much is 1/4. So 1, 2/4, 3/4, 4/4, and 5/4. So that means our divisor is 1 1/4 or 5/4. Right, here's another group. 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, 4/4, 5/4. And obviously we don't have another 5/4, right? So our quotient or our answer, we have two whole groups of 5/4. And then how much is left over? Well, they're telling us, right? They're telling us left over is equal to 4/5 of another 1 1/4 or 5/4. Let's check that out. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, right, out of the 5 that we are looking for. So that's 4/5. So this is how much is left over. This is the group size. So it's 2 4/5 remaining. Right? There's 5 pieces of these, or 5/4 in a group, but we only have 1, 2, 3, 4/4. So we only have 4/5 of the divisor. This represents 4/5 of the divisor. And I'm going to put 1 1/4 because 1 1/4 is the divisor. So they want us to make a question. Great. Professor E has 3.5 gallons of water. He wants to fill water mugs that hold 1 1/4 gallons of water. How many water mugs can he fill? Well, he can fill 2 water mugs and 4/5 of another water mug. And this is obviously repeated subtraction, right? I would continue, and it's repeated subtraction because I have the group size. The size is 5/4. I'm looking for the number of groups or the number of water mugs I could fill. The number sentence with units. Now would be a good time to pause. But 3.5 gallons, I'm going to put G, divided by 1 1/4 gallons. Without units, that's 3.5 divided by 1 1/4. And then it says finding the solution with common denominators. So in our last lesson in class, we learned that when the denominators are the same, that we can just divide the numerators, right? In other words, when the pieces are the same size, we can just figure out how many times the number of measuring units that are in the divisor fit into the number of measuring units in the dividend. Here's what I mean by that. So let's take 3.5, make that one size, 7/2. Take 1 1/4, make that one size, that's going to be 5/4. If we use common denominators, this will be 14/4 divided by 5/4. I could represent that as 14/5, which is also 2 4/5. Moving on. So here we are given two things. We're giving the measurement and repeated subtraction problem type, and we're given the number sentence without units. So let's start by writing a problem. Mr. E's milkshake recipe requires 3/4 cups of milk per cup of milkshake. How many cups of milkshake can he make with 4 2/3 cups of milk? Since my divisor is in fourths, I'm looking for groups of 3/4. I'm going to make my BMU in fourths, so it'll just be easy to select groups. I'll show you what I mean. And I'll use a discrete model for this one. Right, I've got 4 2/3, but first, this is 1/4. And I'm going to have a problem I'm noticing representing fourths in terms of thirds, right? I can represent 4 BMUs, but how do I represent 2/3 of a BMU if my BMU is fourths? So it might be better to represent this in twelfths now that I think about it. So I'm going to change my mind. And this won't be a fourth anymore. Ta-da! No. What I would have had to have done is I would have had to split each of those fourths into thirds, and I would have made 12 pieces anyway. Anyways, let's represent 1/4. That would be just 3 of these, right? And I can represent this in thirds now. It would just be 4 of them. I'm doing this because I want you to see how certain BMUs make the problems easier to solve. And this would be 3/4. Now it's going to take me a long time, right? If my BMU is 12 out of 12 and I want to represent 4 and 2/3, this is going to be 48 circles, and then 2/3 is going to be another 8 circles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You might want to skip this. That's 50 circles so far. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And how many circles are going to be in there? So 48 plus 8 is going to give us 56. So we need 6 more. Great. Now I'm selecting groups of 3/4, which according to this BMU is going to be 9 circles. So this is going to be 1, because I put 10 in each row. 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 9 and 2/9. Why is it 2/9? Remember, right, that's the group size. The group size is 9 of these circles. So the number sentence with units, 4 and 2/3 cups divided by 3/4 cups. And last but not least, finding the solution with common denominators. So what is the common denominator going to be between 3 and 4? It's going to be 12, right? 12ths. So let's change this. This is going to be 12 14/3 and divide that by 3/4. And I'm going to change that and change this to 12ths. To change this to 12ths, I need to multiply it by 3. It's going to be 9/12. To change this to 12ths, it's going to be by 4. So what's 14 times 4? 56. I should have known that, right? I have 56/12 here. So in other words, 56/9, which is equal to... Uh-oh, did I make a mistake? I did make a mistake. It should be 6 and 2/9. Nine goes into 56 6 times. That's 54 with 2 remaining. So that's 6 and 2/9. I can't count at all. All right, that's it for that one. Number 3, Mr. E's produce bag can hold 6/10 of an ounce of lettuce. His sister bought 1.5 ounces of lettuce. What fraction of his sister's lettuce will fit into his produce bag? Well, this one is interesting because the divisor is larger than the dividend, right? So in other words, anytime you have a divisor that's larger than the dividend, it means that one whole copy of the dividend won't fit. Like there's no way that you can fit 1.5 tenths one whole copy of 1.5 of 1 5/10 into a copy of 6/10. So only a fraction of it is going to fit, or part of it is going to fit. So let's write our number sentences with units. It's 6/10 ounces divided by 1.5 ounces. Okay. Now, let's draw the diagram for that. I'm going to draw it horizontally. So I know that this will be my BMU. It'll be 10/10 because I have 6/10 and I have 1.5/10, or one copy of a whole in 5/10. Here's a copy of 6/10. I'm going to try to do this as neat as I can. I probably should draw it here. One half. Split each half into thirds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Each of those is a 10th. Okay, so that's 6/10, or 0.6. Now I'm looking to see what portion of 1.5 is going to fit. So 1 5/10 is the same thing as 15/10. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So this is the part that fits. In other words, 6 out of the 15 pieces, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, out of the 15, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, fit. Okay, so what fraction of his sister's lettuce will fit into the bag? 6/15 of it will fit. Another way we can demonstrate that is with the common denominators, right? So 6/10 divided by 15/10. Remember, when the pieces are the same size, we can just find out how many copies of the divisor fit into the dividend, or we can just divide the numerators, right? This can be rewritten as 6/15. Okay, that is that. You could also represent this as 2/5. Last but not least, Diane loves banana bread. She wants to make as many loaves as she can with the 2.5 cups of sugar that she has in the pantry. The recipe for banana bread calls for 3/8 cups of sugar for each loaf. How many loaves of banana bread can Diane make? So this is obviously repeated subtraction. As we have the size, which is 3/8 of a cup of sugar, we don't know the number of groups or how many loaves of banana bread she can make yet. So we're going to have 2.5 cups divided by 3/8 cups, or 2.5 divided by 3/8. Let's do it a different way this time. Let's do the common denominator solution before we draw the diagram. So we could leave this eighths, right? We can change 2.5 to 5 halves divided by 3/8, and we can change that to 20/8 divided by 3/8, or 20/3, which is 6 2/3. Okay, so I'm going to represent my BMU with 8 pieces. Where this is an eighth, this is 1/2, this is 3/8. So let's draw 2.5. That's 1 BMU. That's 2 BMUs. That's 2.5 BMUs. Okay? Now, I'm looking for groups of 3/8. 1, right? And I should get 6 2/3 according to my work here. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 2 pieces of another group. So 6 2/3. So she can make 6 2/3 loaves of bread. Now I don't want to give the wrong idea, so what I will do is I will do some labeling. This is 2/3 of divisor, right? 2/3 of 3/8. Some other labeling at this problem. I should have labeled this. This is 4 2/3. And this is 2/9 of the divisor. This is the remainder. You always want to label everything, so that's the remainder. The remainder is 2 out of 9 pieces of the divisor. I did all my labeling here. And I believe that's it. If you have any questions, oh, did I label this? No. So this is 1 5/10. If you have any questions, send me an email or send me a message and I'll help you.